Hi guys, do you remember Ian Paisley? He was a Northern Ireland MP for the DUP, and for some reason he's now appearing on GB News. Well, during a pointless discussion about whether it was right or wrong to provide the pop star Taylor Swift with a police escort to a venue, the ex-unionist politician brought up his old friend and no friend of Northern Ireland, Nigel Farage, asking if because he received a threat, he should receive a police escort wherever he goes. What?
I mean, I've spent 20 years working with kids in schools and families. I don't think they care. I think they think, is our government going to sort out, people getting jobs, apprenticeships, houses for their children so they're not having to live at home and all these are the issues that people care about.
But we're still talking about it because of the alleged cover-up. That's why we're talking about it.
But,
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's the issue of, did she get blues and twos? And then he got a meeting as a result. That's the allegation. And this goes back to full disclosure. Disclose right at the beginning. Tell the story as it is. Be absolutely out there. And there seems to be this drip of more and more stories about the Taylor stuff.
It's this impression of being whiter than white and above all of this. And it just seems to be unravelling this image that the Prime Minister tried to project to people. You say people don't care. I think people are worried that he isn't who they've been sold. And there's certainly big questions about the way the operation's been running behind the scenes. What on earth was Sue Gray thinking, permitting this sort of escort?
But that's been deliberately...
You don't do it based on... Yeah,
that's been deliberately to try and make...
Well, it's
nothing to do with me if that's Sue Gray one.
Yeah, but that shows the chaos.
She's getting a hard time in this, isn't she?
But genuinely...
She's to blame.
But genuinely, I just think, step back from this. I mean, to me, that's a common sense, good decision that she had that escort. There had been threats and all this and security, number one. Yeah. Number two, for over 30 years, let's go back, Prime Ministers have invitations to events to meet celebrities. I mean, I remember, Tony Blair meeting Blur and Oasis.
Just be honest about it.
Yeah, but I mean...
The cover-up.
I understand that, yeah.
And just to come back to the point about this, there was a risk and so therefore she was... It's not about that, because actually if every person that was good for the economy that had some sort of risk was given a blue light, things would be very different. Yeah. But that's not the case. Even members of the... Look at Harry. Prince Harry's going through the courts to claim that he is under threat. He's made these allegations against the Taliban. He feels he's not safe to bring his family here. He can't get that VVIP escort, and arguably he brings a lot to the British
man in this programme.
Nigel
Farage has a death threat.
Indeed.
Does he now get blues and twos?
But
Nigel Farage is facing a death threat. Really? Is that true? Because, oh my goodness. So Nigel Farage should receive blues and twos. He should receive a police escort everywhere he goes because there's a guy on TikTok who has allegedly made a threat against Nigel Farage. A guy who, it seems, is not even in the United Kingdom. Where is the sense here? You're comparing apples and oranges here. Taylor Swift was hosting a concert in Vienna, I believe, and it was cancelled because of a threat against her life or against people going to this concert. Nigel Farage, it seems, has been threatened by a guy who isn't in the UK, who's a TikToker. And whenever this issue is brought up, well, wouldn't the best thing to do would be to have this guy extradited to the UK, face a trial and put in prison. And his supporters don't want to do that. So they have a problem with him making threats against Nigel Farage. They don't want him extradited to the UK to face a trial. So what do they want? Well, they seem to want Nigel Farage to be escorted around by the police wherever he goes. For what justification? Because of some guy on the internet? Remember, these are the same people who were criticising Keir Starmer and the government for putting people in prison over what they claimed were comments on social media. Of course, it was a lot more than that. But you can't have it both ways. You can't say you shouldn't be putting people in prison over comments on social media, but we need to provide Nigel Farage with a police escort everywhere he goes because of some guy on TikTok. And also, where is Nigel Farage likely to go? Is he going to be representing his constituency in Clacton? No, he spends more time in the United States. Should he receive a police escort to the United States as well? Do the diplomatic service in the UK diplomatic service in Washington have to provide blues and twos wherever Nigel Farage goes in the US as well? It's absurd. You're comparing apples and oranges here. And it's interesting that nobody but GB News is talking about this threat to Nigel Farage. None of the mainstream media newspapers or outlets are talking about it. Could it actually be something exaggerated or maybe even invented? Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.